Under the sea, under the sea. Down where it's wetter, down where it's wetter. Take it from me. Hey, fourth graders, I am totally in the mood for today's lesson. If you can't figure out what it is, I just don't know what to tell you. We are going to go ahead and get started. We are on lesson 6 of Skeletons Inside and Out, and hopefully you figured out from my solid intro what we will be focusing on today. So, learning intention, we are learning to analyze the main idea and key details in the text. You will know you're successful today when you can identify the main idea. So, oh my gosh, I shouldn't give you this. Hold on. All right, so you're going to have your chart as always, and you're going to have your main idea and your 3 supporting details. So you're going to have your main idea, and then you're going to use text details to explain what is happening in the story. So go ahead and pause the video and get your chart drawn so you are ready to go when we start reading. Now, today's foundational skill, we're moving on from suffixes, and we are going to talk about synonyms. And it means words that have the same or similar meaning. And if you've never heard the vocabulary song, that's what always helps me remember what a synonym. It goes, synonyms, it means the same. So many words are in a name. It's something like that. So it always makes me remember that they're words that mean the same thing. So can we think of some words that mean the same as hard? Something's hard. Yeah, maybe it could be something is tough. I heard somebody say that. Hard, maybe difficult. Maybe rough. Yeah, so those are a few synonyms because you could take the word hard out of a sentence and put these words in and they could mean the same thing. Can you do the same for flexible, which is one of our vocabulary words that we learned about? Maybe. I'm not going to give those to you. I want you to do those on your own. Now, one of the things we're going to be practicing is we're going to have to look in a sentence, and the cool thing that authors do is they give you synonyms for words in the sentence, and that'll help us figure out what the words mean. So right now in this sentence, there's actually 2 words that have the same meaning. So the sentence says, the days went by slowly as the summer gradually came to an end. Do you see any words there that mean the same thing? What if I gave you a hint and said that one of the words is slowly? Can you find a word that means the same as slowly? The days went by slowly as the summer. Yeah, good job. I heard you say it. Gradually came to an end. Awesome job. All right. So if we look at the activity you are going to be doing today, you need to identify the synonym for each underlined word. So you're just going to read that sentence. We gave you the first word, and you have to find a word that means the same thing. So it should be something you've done before, because you just did it with me. Vocabulary. The first word is suction. Now, if you see those videos, there's 2 different things that are having suction there. The feet have suction cups that slowly pull the starfish along. You see those little suction cups pulling it along? So what does suction mean? Yes, it holds something to the surface. So this guy right here, he's holding those onto the wall to get him up the wall. Great job. Now our second one is something we've already read about. It's to molt. Which this, oh my gosh, it's so weird to watch this crab do it, or whatever this guy is. Yeah, it is molting. So as crustaceans grow, they must molt or shed their exoskeleton, remember, because they get too big. So what does that mean? Yeah, if you're paying attention, it just did that synonym thing where it told us molt or shed. So molt means to shed or lose its shell or skin. I know I used to have a bird and she would molt. She would lose all her feathers to get new feathers. All right, guys, another poem to start off our day with. So The Jellyfish and the Clam by Jeff Moss. Said the clam to the pink jellyfish, "You're no more than a lump of wet squish. You've no backbone or brain. You're too dull to explain. When they look at you, people go, ish." Said the jellyfish back to the clam, "I may look like thin raspberry jam, but you're just a thick shell, and you don't even gel. So I'm happy to be what I am." Well, I say let's give 3 big cheers for these two and their lengthy careers. Though they both may be dull, with no spine and no skull, still they've lasted a 500 million years. All right, so again, your teacher might give this to you on Seesaw to practice reading a poem and do that rhythm like I was doing. Some of the times I got a little stuck, so you got to practice so you can get better. All right, if you didn't guess it already, my hat, my sunglasses, and the song, we are focusing on sea creatures today. So let's go ahead and get started. Sea creature skeletons. Sea creatures have different kinds of skeletons. Some, such as fish, have endoskeletons with ribs and spines. Others, such as crabs, have exoskeletons. Sorry, guys. Got a piece of hair. Sea creature endoskeletons. Most kinds of fish have endoskeletons made of bone. The skeleton of a fish is simple, with a skull, a spine, and ribs. The fish's sleek shape helps it move quickly through the water. Muscles pull on each side of the spine, bending the fish's body and tail from side to side, pushing it forward. Thin bones help the fish balance, steer, and move along. So down here it says the skeleton of a carp is fairly simple, yet it has many bones. So up here, this main idea and key details, I just put that there because this definitely has main idea and key details in just this part right here. So it says, sea creatures have different kinds of skeletons. Some, such as fish, have endoskeletons with ribs and spines. Others, such as crabs, have hard exoskeletons. So, if we wanted to find the main idea of this page, what do you think that it would be? Right, it's all about how fish move down here. So that main idea would be how the fish move, and then if you looked back, it says right here, one of the details is that it's the sleek shape. So it's because it's slick, like it's got that sleek shape, it helps it move quickly. Another way that helps it move quickly, so that's our first box. Then over here, we could put muscles pull on each side of the spine, bending the fish's body. So that could be the second one. And then the third one could be the tail moves from side to side, pushing it forward. And then we even have an extra detail saying that the fin bones help the fish balance, steer, and move along. So even in that small little paragraph right here, we can find a main idea and 3 key details, and we can use that to create a summary. So then we're going to look at this question. It says, how do the pictures help you better understand the main idea and key details on this page? So we just said the main idea was about moving, right? So how do these pictures help us figure that out? So the picture should have helped you realize that this is what the sleek shape is, and then it also kind of shows you this part, how it pulls on each side of the spine. So it's pulling right here, and then it's the same on the other side. So good job. All right, some kinds of fish, we got a stop sign. Silly Miss Lawson. How are sharks and fish the same? How are they different? So we got to keep our eyes open for that. Some kinds of fish, such as sharks and rays, have skeletons made of cartilage instead of bone. Cartilage is a strong, flexible tissue. Part of your nose is supported by cartilage. So if you notice, It's like hard, but you can actually move your bone. So that's what makes it cartilage. You can bend it. So it's a strong, flexible tissue. The great white shark's spine is actually made of cartilage. It stretches from the tip of its tail to the base of its skull. Each fin has rods of firm but flexible cartilage, which helps it keep its shape. The fin helps a shark dive through the water and change direction quickly. They also keep a shark from rolling over. Wow. So down here it says this is what the shark's jaw looks like. And then here it says both the shark's upper and lower jaws, Miss Lawson, silly, move forward to grab its prey. Whew, I would not want to be its prey. That's scary. Did you know some rays, like the blue spotted ray, are poisonous? Other rays are gentle creatures. Rays look like they are flying when they flap their wide fins to swim. So what kind of similarities did you find? How are fish and sharks the same? Yeah, if we look at, let's look back at this. They both have what kind of skeleton? Endoskeleton or exoskeleton? Like if we looked at this carp and we looked at this shark, what kind of skeleton do they have? Yeah, they both have endoskeletons. And they're made up of, do they have feet and legs like we do? No, what are the main things they're made out of? They have the skull and they have the spine and maybe some ribs, right? So those are the main things that make it up, the skull and the spine. And then they both have what? Instead of arms and legs, what's the big thing that they have? Yeah, they have fins and they have a tail. Now, how are they different? What are their bones made out of? Exactly. The fish have bones, but the sharks don't have bones. They actually have cartilage is what their skeleton is made out of. So that's a huge difference. Then, what is the purpose of their fins? How are those different? So we can look back here and see, look, fin bones help the fish balance, steer, and move along. But what about the fins here? The fins help a shark dive through the water and change directions quickly. So they have different purposes behind their fins. What's one more thing? Obviously, one's a lot bigger, one's a lot smaller. So there's a lot of similarities and differences. Great job, fourth graders. So we can see right here that suction is going to be on this page. And let's start this. So sea creatures, we talked about endoskeletons. Now we're going to talk about exoskeletons. So sea creatures with exoskeletons often move differently from those with endoskeletons. A starfish, for example, has an exoskeleton that is not very flexible. It can move because it has tiny tube feet underneath its arms. These feet have suction cups that slowly pull the starfish along. The sea urchin's shell is covered with stiff spines. The exoskeleton helps defend the sea urchin against creatures that might want to eat it or step on it. Like the starfish, the sea urchin moves on tiny tube feet. Its spines also helps. At the base of each spine is a ball and socket joint. This allows the spine to move in all directions. Wow. Did you know? So this is a sea urchin right here, this little ball. A sea urchin may look like a furry ball, but it is not. The spines on its shell are not like a backbone, but are sharp and pointed. Stepping on a sea urchin's exoskeleton can be very painful. Ooh, that sounds awful. Crabs, lobsters, and shrimps are crustaceans. Their hard exoskeleton covers their legs and bodies. As crustaceans grow, they must molt or shed their exoskeleton. They grow new exoskeletons to fit their growing body. Crustaceans have legs and arms called limbs. They use most of these limbs to move about. Some crustaceans have pincers or grasping claws that they use to defend themselves. Joints connect their limbs and body parts, which makes them flexible. That is why most crustaceans can move easily. So some crustaceans are shrimps, we've got red crab, we've got Pacific lobsters. It says over here, did you know? By the time a lobster lives to old age, it can shed its old exoskeleton and grow a new one more than 25 times. Holy smokes. Ooh, we got queen scallops. Look at those guys. A scallop's exoskeleton is made up of 2 half shells that are shaped like fans. These 2 protective half shells are held together by a hinge. The hinge is open and closed by 1 large muscle. Most of the time, a scallop lies on the ocean floor. To move, it opens and closes its shell quickly. This forces water out of the shell near the hinge and drives the scallop forward. Pretty cool. Some animals, did you know? Some animals, such as jellyfish, don't have skeletons. The water supports their soft bodies, including their organs. So we kind of read about that in our poem. All right, time for our main idea chart. So we pretty much figured out what the main idea was at the very beginning. It was sea creature skeletons, and I love informational texts because they always help me figure out the main idea. Always is kind of a strong word. They usually help me figure out the main idea with headings. Headings are my best friend. So we're going to just write down sea creature skeletons as our main idea. Actually, yeah, let's do that. Sea creature skeletons. That is our main idea because that's what the whole section we read about today was about. Sea creature skeletons. So you're going to write that down. Then we are going to look back in the text to figure out what are some key things that we learned. And again, I love headings for that specifically. So one thing we learned is sea creatures have endoskeletons, right? So I'm going to put down in my first box, sea creatures can have endoskeletons. And I feel like that's pretty broad. So I'm going to give some examples on this page, like a fish. Like a fish. I'm going to go with a fish's simple skeleton. And I might put that it has its skull and spine. So that's one way that sea creatures can have a skeleton, right? So we've got sea creatures can have an endoskeleton like the fish with its simple skeleton that has the skull and the spine. That was what that whole first section was about, right? Then you can pause here if you need more time. Then we move on to this. Whoop. This was kind of a big deal to me because we learned that not all skeletons are made of bone. That was kind of crazy to me. So I'm going to put that not all skeletons are made of bone. And I'm going to put like cartilage on the shark, because that was something new that we learned about. So that's going to be the second one. It's going to say not all skeletons are made of bone, and then we're going to say like cartilage in the shark. Pause here if you need more time, but we're going to keep trucking along. And then the last thing we learned about was the sea creature's exoskeleton, right? So sea creatures can have, this is not my best handwriting, exoskeletons. Oh boy. Like, and let's give some examples. You got like the starfish. What else was there? Like the crab. So we're going to say like the starfish, crab, and lobster. And then if we wanted to get crazy, you could even add a fourth box because we also learned from this jellyfish that some don't have skeletons at all. The water helps it live without a skeleton. So just like that, fourth graders, we took our main idea, found 3 supporting details, and those supporting details, guys, mostly came directly from the headings. So informational texts are great help when it comes to these organizers. And then I can take this to create a summary, a quick summary pretty much, because I just took, how many pages? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 pages and turned it into 3 sentences. Great job. I always feel magical when we can do that. We can cut 6 pages into 4 sentences and still give everybody what the text was saying. All right, fourth graders, now it is time for your reading response. According to the text, what are the creature's endoskeletons made of? What are the differences between the two? Make sure to find details in the text. So endoskeletons can be made of 2 different things. What are they and what makes them different? Great job today, fourth graders, and I will see you next time. Bye.